Well, just like that, AirPods 2 was announced out of nowhere. This has been the week of Apple in all of my years of covering Apple products and looking forward to Apple events. I've never experienced anything quite like this before, and it seems like we're getting a new product every day this week. First on Monday with the release of the new iPad Air and iPad Mini, Tuesday with the new iMacs, and now Wednesday, we have a new AirPods, and Apple didn't even save this for a press conference, and we all know how popular the AirPods have been, so it's pretty amazing to just see them announced out of the blue like this, and really funny to see, especially when I woke up today. I first saw the Tim Cook tweet of him drawing the AirPods. It wasn't even up on their website yet, and everyone was freaking out. And this has just been a really fun event for Apple fans to kind of sit back and look at all this speculation and reaction to what new products we're gonna get the next day. And so far it's been very interesting. And I'm sitting here recording this all on Wednesday, so it's going to be very interesting to see if Apple is going to announce a new product on Thursday and a new product on Friday with the rumors of the AirPower charging mat and a refresh of the iPod Touch. So going to be very interesting to see what Apple does here. Okay, but enough about Apple Week. You are here to hear about the brand new AirPods, what features they have, and most importantly, if you should buy them. So let's start with the most important thing, and that is the price of the new AirPods. So theoretically, the price of these new AirPods hasn't changed from the previous generation. They're still starting at $159 for a pair of AirPods and a regular charging case that you charge via Lightning, just like you did with the first generation of AirPods. However, Apple is also including an option for a $199 version of the AirPods that comes with a wireless charging case. And you can also buy that wireless charging case separately for $79. So maybe if you just got a pair of AirPods for Christmas, or you purchased them recently, or your pair is working perfectly fine, if you really want that wireless charging ability, Apple has given you the option to purchase the case separately. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, what are the new features of AirPods 2? And this is very interesting because Apple hasn't given a keynote on any of these new products that were released. So a lot of people are kind of left up into the air to kind of go through the website, read these press releases, and find all of the new features. But thankfully you found this video, and I'm gonna go over all of the AirPods features that were announced, and maybe even a surprise one that Apple's kind of a little wishy-washy on. I'll kind of cover that a little bit more later. So the first new feature is the inclusion of an H1 headphone chip. Now previously on AirPods, they came with the W1 wireless chip, and that was the first product to ship with that W1 chip, which promised better connectivity and pairing with Bluetooth devices. The H1 looks to do the same thing by improving upon the W1 chip with up to 2 times faster when switching between active devices. This is personally an issue I faced when using the first generation of AirPods. I'd use them on my iPhone and I'd switch to my Apple Watch and that would be fine, but if I would go over to my Mac or my iPad, it could take a little bit longer to connect to them than if I was just switching between my phone or my Apple Watch. This new chip also features a 1.5 times faster connection to phone calls. Not a huge feature for me because it's not something I really complained about in the past, but it's always interesting to see these improvements, and it's going to be interesting to see how this affects real-world performance when we get our hands on them. One of the big new features for AirPods 2 is the inclusion of Hey S-word support, and you know who that is, and I'm not gonna say it so I don't activate all of your devices at home. It's funny because we kind of saw this feature in that Apple Park video where the girl was running around Apple Park trying to deliver the clicker to Tim Cook. She said the Hey S-word and activated that on her AirPods, so it's almost like Apple announced this feature before they even showed off AirPods 2. The best use case I can think of for this is when I have my hands full or when I'm doing a workout. So if I'm running, I can switch between music, increase the volume, or maybe even message someone without having to raise my hand up and double tap the AirPods. Now, AirPods 2 is also going to feature 30% reduced gaming latency. And here's where things get interesting, because when Apple mentions this reduction in latency, They also say something quite interesting on their website, and this is something I'm not even 100% clear about. It says, so whether you're playing games, listening to music, or enjoying a podcast, you'll experience higher quality sound. So it says these improvements in latency will lead to higher quality sound, but they don't really tout any new improvements to the sound quality of AirPods anywhere else on the site, just really quickly in that mention when talking about gaming latency. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see when we get our hands on this product if there is an improvement in the sound quality because of the better connection that the H1 chip provides. So right now, better sound quality is kind of an open question. We really don't know if there are improvements to the AirPods in terms of sound quality. Now, what about battery life? So this is a little bit interesting too. So battery life is going to be the same when you're listening to music, so up to 5 hours. And then that AirPods case is going to give you 24 hours of charge back, just like the previous version. However, the new H1 chip is more efficient when dealing with picking up your voice on that microphone, so it's going to lead to a longer battery life when you're doing phone calls or when you're using the microphone, and that's up to a 50% improvement. So the previous generation of AirPods had about an hour and a half battery life when on a phone call, and AirPods 2 should have up to a 3-hour battery life when using it to make phone calls. And that is quite a huge improvement in the battery life department. That's probably one of my bigger complaints about AirPods, is that the batteries drain really quickly when you're on a phone call. And if you have them, you might have done this thing before where you have one AirPod in the ear, and if you're on a long call, halfway through the call, you swap them out and then put the other one in the charging case. With the AirPods 2, that looks like it's going to be a thing of the past. Now, one other small detail is that with AirPods 2, you can actually get an engraving on the case, which wasn't available with the AirPods 1. Okay, let's address the question of should you buy the updated AirPods 2? And to be honest, I was a little bit taken aback with all the reaction on social media about the AirPods 2 announcement. I saw a lot of negative feedback. Some people were expecting a lot more updates to the AirPods. A lot of people were buying into those rumors that maybe they'd have a black color, maybe they would have a new matte finish, maybe there would be noise cancellation. And while we weren't really expecting that 100% for AirPods 2, we have heard rumors that those features are in the works for products like AirPods 3 and AirPods 4. However, I still think this is a pretty good quality of life update with some meaningful features like the Hey S word support. With the improved connections, it's going to be interesting to see how much of that connection improving, how much of that faster switching is going to make for a better experience when using these things day in and day out. The 50% more battery life when making calls is a huge feature for me, and it's going to be interesting to see if that better connection does lead to improved sound quality, like we might be led to believe based on the wording on the website. But again, let's get back to that question of should you buy them. Now, I think there's a couple categories of people who might be interested in AirPods 2. And now, the first and most obvious is that you don't own a pair of AirPods already, and you're interested in buying a pair of AirPods. And if you've never owned a pair of AirPods, now is probably the best time to buy them. However, you do have the option of should you go with the standard version for $159, or should you spring the $40 extra for the wireless charging case? If you love Qi charging, then obviously this is a no-brainer. However, I think there's a few other factors you might want to consider before making that purchase. And that is that Apple might release AirPower this week. So if you are interested in owning AirPower, if you want one charging mat to charge your phone on, your AirPods on, and your Apple Watch on, you might want to future-proof yourself and get that wireless charging case. And here's another thing to consider for new AirPods customers, and that is that the next generation of iPhones might get a feature that is very similar to the new Galaxy phones, where you can charge your AirPods on the back of the phone. So if you're interested in any potential feature like that, then the wireless AirPods might be better to purchase now instead of purchasing that wireless case later for $79. Okay, what about all the people that already own a pair of AirPods? For all you existing customers, is this update meaningful enough for you to go out and spend another $159 or another $200 to purchase AirPods? Well, if you've owned AirPods since the beginning of their release and you are a heavy user like myself, your AirPods battery might be getting pretty low at this point. I have a pair of AirPods that can maybe last 30 minutes to an hour because I've just used them so much every day that the small little battery inside of them has degraded so much that it can barely keep a charge anymore. And if you're like me and if you have a situation like that, then these AirPods are going to be a great thing to jump into, especially because I don't predict that AirPods will be getting any meaningful updates for at least another year. If you want that H1 chip, if you want the improved connectivity, if you want Hey S-word support, if you want the longer battery life on phone calls, those are all meaningful upgrades that might get you to purchase AirPods 2, and especially if you can give someone else your previous AirPods, just make sure you clean them first, that might be a good update for you to purchase. However, a lot of people out there just got AirPods for the holidays, and that wasn't too long ago, so I'm sure a lot of people who got them for the holidays are sitting back thinking, wait a minute, should I purchase AirPods 2 now? I just got these brand new AirPods. I don't want to spend another $159. I don't want to spend another $200 to upgrade. And for those people who just purchased AirPods recently or just got them recently, I think this is an update that you can probably skip out on. Now, newer owners might also be considering buying that wireless charging case. And I gotta say, this is something where I'm going to recommend you don't purchase it. I'm not seeing the value of buying the wireless charging case on its own for $79. That price is pretty steep, so I really wouldn't recommend purchasing that wireless case unless you absolutely have to have that wireless charging feature. But I think you could just get by on charging it via Lightning. The battery life in the case itself does last a while, and it's not too much of an issue to just plug it in every night. So maybe just skip out, save your money, and wait for a refresh version of the AirPods. Or again, the battery life in your AirPods is eventually gonna go, so just save your money, wait for them to die, and then purchase a new version of AirPods. All right, but enough about what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about AirPods 2? Do you plan on picking one up? Do you plan on getting it with the regular case or with the wireless charging case? Or if you are an owner of the first version of AirPods, do you plan on dropping $79 just to get the addition of wireless charging? Anyway, if you guys like the video, make sure you give me a like. If you want to see more from my channel, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.